Okay, so we will be starting the session now. Amit, so Amit is out going to he's going to get a microphone right now. So I will be introducing the speaker, and by the time he comes back, I believe we can resume the talk. So let me introduce Amit first. So Amit Kumar Pandey is the President, Chief Technology Officer, and Chief Science Officer at Hanson Robotics. The company created the most human-like expressive robot, Sophia, which we all know. Earlier, he has served as the head principal scientist, chief scientist, as at SoftBank Robotics Europe, France. Formerly, it was called Aldebaran Robotics. His research interests fall in the intersections of people, society, robotics, and AI. He explores towards the social innovation of such new technologies to address some of the societal needs. Mr. Pandey, Dr. Pandey brings his integral background in AI, robotics, and social interaction to accelerate the development of the Hanson AI platform, powering the intelligence and interactive personalities of the company's robots and virtual AI characters. So he also leads the development of commercial AI and robot solutions for media research, service, and home applications. He holds a PhD in robotics and AI from LAASCNRS, French National Center for Scientific Research, INSA, National Institute of Applied Sciences, France, awarded among the best three theses for the prestigious Georges Giraud Award for the best PhD thesis in robotics in Europe. Among other recognitions, he is also the recipient of the Innovation Leadership Award, Global Excellence Award for Contribution in Robotics and AI, Achievers Award for Science and Technology AI, Robotics and Education, and Pravasi Bihari Samman Puraskar for Science, Technology, and Education. So today he will be talking about intelligent robots in smart city ecosystem, potential and challenges. So over to you, Amit, whenever you're ready. Amit, you are muted.
Now you are able to hear me?
Yeah. Now you're fine. Okay, so I will be hiding myself. I'll be in the. I'll be. I'll be watching. I will alert you whenever there is an issue.
Okay. Just let me know when once there is
Yeah.
a problem. Okay. Okay. So thanks a lot for this interesting symposium and also inviting me for providing the industrial perspective on where we are basically in terms of robotics technology and how it will be integrated or how they are already being used for some of the use cases of uh, smart cities in one sense, but also some societal needs. So I will be trying to give a global overview about some of the potentials and as well as the challenges which we as a community should be trying to solve together. So it's again to open the collaborative environment, and it was really nice to be with the part of the panel discussion just before this talk, where we already highlighted the need of collaboration and the ecosystem. So just try to see this talk as one of the pointers that how we should be starting some collaboration between industry, academics, individual, and to solve the bigger problem together. So as I mentioned, at the moment, I am the president and the chief science officer of Hanson Robotics, and in the past I was involved in different organizations, and still I have some involvement. I'm still the part of EU Robotics, where we try to create a bigger ecosystem with different stakeholders to create the multi-annual roadmap of Europe of robotics in Europe. And earlier I was the head principal scientist of SoftBank Robotics, where we have created the robot which was mass produced and deployed in real use case scenarios, and different application sectors. So it was very interesting journey to figure out that what are the real user feedback and how these robots are seen useful, or what are the challenges we still have to solve. So it will be basically an insider perspective. That's why I mentioned this kind of little background, so that we know that what we should be doing together. So let me start with this video if it is working. So this is also a robot, and I am sure you must be knowing from a movie. And we as the human have really imaginations and expectations whenever we hear about robot or artificial intelligence, and that imaginations, those imaginations are really endless in many sense. So the problem is that we have to ground the expectation, ground the imagination of the people, of the user, even of the media and the policymakers, to better uh, create the reality that where we are in terms of the technology and how far we have to go. And that's the idea, that let us try to be imaginative in science fiction, but have a more grounded reimagination of the future through this kind of technology. And there are some robots which you might be knowing that there are different robots which are able to do different things. The video. So there are robots which can jump and run, the robots which can fly and while flying manipulate the things. There are also robots which can interact and have human-like facial expressions.
Sophia, if you could, please.
I'm on a first date with a.
Let me stop all this. So this is a very a subset of the picture about what all is happening in robotics. And if you will see, if you will see some character in science fiction movies, perhaps those are integrating all of these, like they are able to fly, jump, run, interact, engage, have bonding, emotional bonding with human, do whatever they can do. But in reality, bringing any of these technologies together is a challenge. It is not only a integration challenge, but also a scientific challenge, where we need to see the applied side of research and elevate our state of art to bring different kinds of capabilities in one robot. And that is where basically we are. So we are developing as a community or as industry different kinds of robots with different capabilities, and this is the reality we have to accept. So these are some of the robots I have worked also in past. So they have been designed for perhaps different needs, and as you can see, the shape, size have been different. Their roles have been different, from research purpose to going to academics, and then going to consumer to business users, to different spectrums. And but there is something common if we will think about this kind of robots. And that part which is common is also in their design as well as in their behavior. And the one part is that there should be some interaction. So these are robots which are not isolated in industry. They should have some perception, though, so that they can sense around, they can sense people, they can sense environment. They should be able to do some manipulation to move objects, or to interact, have some physical interaction with people. They should be able to navigate around in the environment, and be mobile. So these are again some, as you might be knowing, it is each of these are already a scientific challenge, and lots of research are happening in all these directions. And once we have to make something, the human-like robot or humanoid robot, we have to combine these technologies together in an innovative manner. And so if we have only interaction, so there will be kind of interactive robot, like in mall we can deploy. If they can manipulate the things, they can even used in industrial setting. If they are mobile, they can be used in warehouse. So these are different segments of use cases of robots, depending on which capabilities are being developed. So you can see robots which are only mobile, there is nothing else on top of that. You can see only robotic arms or manipulators, nothing else. Or you can see simply interactive faces or screen. And if we will combine some of those, we will achieve something more, and perhaps some more useful capabilities can be developed. And if we will combine these with AI and other kind of technology, including IoT, we will be able to achieve more and more. So that's the idea, to really figure out that what are the needs and then where to focus instead of trying to bring everything together. So there was a drastic change in the perception of robot and in the perception of the way this could be assisting us. So in the past, if you will see, robots were basically in isolated environment, like underwater or Mars, or in industrial setup, which were designed for robots. So there were no human uh, present, and it was because of many reasons, also including the reason of safety and robots being not understanding human, or not being interactive. But there was a shift, a domain which started called social robotics or human robot interaction, which created a new environment where robot and human were supposed to coexist and supposed to be part of the same environment, interacting. So these were the research directions where robots were supposed to be more engaging with people and being interactive with the people. And it created new kind of R&D challenges, because just take an example of industrial robot. If a robot has to hand over some object to a human, it is completely different than the way they might be manipulating things in an industry and isolated setup. So the same problems of robotics redefined when robots started to enter in human environment. But the interesting thing is that they also created new opportunities to address many of the social needs and challenges, which I will be highlighting depending on the time I will have. And this new domain also put a shift in how robots should be even collaborative in earlier environment, which were thought isolated, like underwater or in industry. So you might be knowing industry 4.0, which is again collaborative robots. And so here the idea is that advancement of a technology or research in a particular direction also changes the perception of the deployment of those technology, the methodology of deployment of those technology, and then human became the part of such deployment, and being collaborative robots are now taking different roles worldwide. So with that robots are now capable of being the part of human environment. They are being deployed in healthcare setup, in elderly care facilities, being used for companionship, in education, for telemedicine, even for therapy and training, for disease prediction, and in being the part of art and culture, retail, banking, entertainment, spreading awareness. So again, it is the bigger ecosystem, where you can see that these robots with the kind of AI they are penetrating, and they are really trying to assist people and assist us in the way which is needed and expected by the people. So they can really help in even the new normal which is coming, post COVID scenario. And there are different needs and requirements which will be happening. Just taking an example of airport, there are different sectors and segments, and you will be needing different kind of technology to assist people and to maintain the safe and healthy practices. And this is one of the direction where I think many technology provider will be moving because it is affecting many sectors, including tourism as well. And how to achieve something through robotics and AI technology? That's the question, because we can develop things based on our hobby or intuition that okay, this will work or this will not work. So there are some key ingredients. First is the body of the robot, then the capabilities, the behavior of the robot. But the missing thing is still the purpose, that why we want to develop a robot, and what should be the feature of those robots, how it should be looking, what should be the behavior, the capabilities. And if you will see the spectrum from the research community, so there have been traditional robotics community, then AI has started to come closer with robotics community. So that is how the behavior in the robot has started to emerge. Now the need is that we have to bring society and the individual and the different players of the whole ecosystem together to define the purpose. And once we know it better, once we ground it, then we will be able to develop the technology which will be more useful and needed by the people and by the society. And that is how somehow the social intelligence of robots are also coming in picture, because these robots are supposed to work with people and not in isolation. So they are supposed to live in companionship or in a community, and they should have some awareness about social environment, and that needs lots of feedback and input from psychology as well. And they should be able to interact, engage with people, be proactive, not only waiting for some command, but also by understanding the situation take some proactive measures to help and support. And why not exchange help with the people to do things in a collaborative manner. So to achieve those kind of social intelligence, there might be different ways, and one of those is perhaps a bottom-up embodiment of the social intelligence of the robot. So where we try to identify the key cognitive aspects inspiring from different domains, including the psychology and child developmental psychology, behavioral psychology, and then we can develop some key behavioral aspect and combine all those to develop even higher level pro-social and pro-social cognitive and behavioral aspect, with the hope that one day we will achieve a kind of social intelligence which is needed. But the important thing here is that we have to consider the social and human factors a lot. Safety is important, but that is not enough. We have to think about the comfort, desire, intuitiveness, and other preferences, even the culture and social norms when these robots are getting deployed at mass level. And they should be also able to learn. So once these robots are learning, again, there are issues of how to make these robots learning good things and doing good things. So these are the real challenges which we have to see, that once we want to deploy robot for real applications, how they can be human aware and at the same time doing good things. And so there are many urgent research challenges, and that also includes the decision making, planning, autonomy, the naturalness of interaction, at the same time the physical interaction and the compliance of the robot. So I will now skip many slides so that we can have even some time for question and answer. But we have developed different blocks for planning and decision making, and we even try to compare the behavior of the robot with the human in a kind of adopted Turing test to see how intelligent these robots are seen by the people. And you can see some of the feedbacks are interesting, that we were equally good, or I was better, or robot was better. It shows that at least there is some perception of the intelligence in these robots by the people. So from the real user perspective, people still want robot to be more information rich and more intelligent and more reliable. That's very interesting. So they are perceiving some intelligence. They are seeing robots have information, but they want more. And we have to see how more is really the more. And we also try to make robots more interacting, in the sense that Again, I will just show a small part of this. Okay.
Tell me, who is Emmanuel Macron?
According to Wikipedia, he is the French official and statesman.
How old is he?
Emmanuel Macron is 42 years old.
Who is his wife?
He married to Brigitte Macron.
How old is she?
Well, Brigitte Macron is 66 years old.
Can you tell me a joke, please?
Okay, 43.7% of all statistics are worthless. I like seeing people smiling. Do you want to hear another joke?
So here you can see that robots should have the contextual understanding that what is happening and what is the context of interaction, and at the same time it should take feedback from its sensor and try to craft its behavior and its interaction. So here the robot was simply seeing that person is smiling, and then it has modulated the behavior and interaction based on that. And at the same time, when the person was asking about someone, then he was referencing the relatives of those person, those people, and then robot was able to resolve all those conflicts in he and she like terms. So these are some of the advancement which is happening, but we have to even go more and further in that interaction part. And at the same time, robot can obviously it should be doing some physical interaction and assisting people doing things small or big. So we are moving in that direction also, both as a company as well as a community, to achieve physical interaction capabilities in the robot. But we have to really see other dimension, which is if robots are really going to use, just take an example of nursing facility, where or elderly care facility, where people from different backgrounds or different cultural backgrounds are there. So even there are now guidelines which are coming like British standard guideline that robots should respect some sort of cultural diversity and pluralism. We are exploring. We were the part of. I was the part of one of the first projects on cultural intelligence on the robot in transcultural nursing setup, and we even tried to put Indian culture, which is already very diverse, but trying to see that how we can have a high level of abstraction where we can put at least some knowledge about diversity of culture, and then robot behavior will be adapting to that knowledge. And what about if a robot has a character? So it can even serve in different direction in spreading awareness or giving a message or being some brand ambassador. So this is also one direction where things are being pushed. And just watch this video. So perhaps it might be looking odd to many of us, but as you can see, at least the power of engaging robots, that they can engage and communicate if they have multimodality of interaction capabilities, not only voice but the facial expression, the body language, the modulation, and here the robot is basically being teleoperated. But just imagine that how this kind of telepresence and avatar robot can help for connecting people with family, in telemedicine, in healthcare, in being a teammate in unstructured environment. Just imagine an isolated child in a hospital where even parents can't get access. So robots can be really useful in bridging those type of gaps. And why not they can facilitate a differently abled person to get a job. If this kind of robots are there, they can be avatar of the people, and this is already happening in some part of the world, that using robots to facilitate the job which a person might not be able to do because of his ability or her abilities, but robot can really bridge that gap. So there are lots of potential which are happening, which are there, and lots of deployments are happening to understand those needs and usability. Similarly, the aging society is one of the thing which we have to consider, and we have to find that how robots and AI can together fit in supporting the elderly population, which will be even becoming the ratio will be higher and higher in the coming years. And there are terms like silver tsunami, basically referring to the elderly population. And we can even deploy robots for boosting the memory and improving the mental health of the people. So we have done some work also in the past, again to reduce the isolation and make their life happier. So robots can really provide physical and cognitive support. They can break the distance barrier, and even people felt of less loneliness and sometime of less compromised dignity, because they are depending on a machine and not very much isolated. So there are interesting feedback which we used to get as a community when we deploy the robot. Also, robot can really fight loneliness in big manner. As human, we sometimes we become so judgmental, or we put people so isolated, which is not good. And the idea is that really no one should be dying just because they are not being noticed in the right manner or in a timely manner. So let us see that how we can put robots for helping in this type of situation. Autism is another spectrum where robots are really very seen useful because of the way they can engage autistic children and help in developing their social skills, both verbal and non-verbal skill, and they can be even used for training and therapist purpose. And there are positive results which are already coming by deployment of such robots. Robots can also be used for education, like teaching assistants and peer and co-learner. So there is an interesting methodology which is called learning by teaching. So robot can really help by being a learner, where a child is teaching the robot something, and in that process the child is learning. And this kind of personalized education can be achieved through robots. They can be companion, they can be entertainer, they can and now should be the part of this telepresence and tele-education ecosystem to support education as well. And obviously they are the teaching platform. So I have to now really rush. I will skip many slides again to give some other aspects of these robots, and then we can go to some question and answer session. And so a robot can also use for preserving some sort of technology, art and culture. Like here, a robot is simply learning a new form of drawing and sketching, and then it can sketch the face of a person. And so we can imagine lots of uses. If some art or technology or culture is at risk, why not we try to gain some advantage of the technology. Even they can use for depression therapy. Some early results are getting published through meditation. They can be also used for medical simulation market, and they have to start learning. So I will stop there, skip that part, because learning we all know, and if you are interested, I will give you some pointer later on. And again, it is not to replace human, but to really use and reduce our mental and physical loads, and see that how robots can be really part of the life. If you will go to the market side, and the service robotics market, humanoid robot market, interactive robot market, they are encouraging, and there are different application sectors in which these robots are getting used, and there are new jobs which are also emerging. like chief robotics officer, robot programmer, behavioral architect, and even non-technical people are finding very nice opportunities in this domain, which is really becoming a multidisciplinary domain. So we need people from core robotics, but cognition, AI, data science, psychology, animation, mechatronics, sociology, all these are part of the need, which is the real need of the deployment and development of this type of socially intelligent robots. There are some ethical, legal, and social challenges as well. We try to understand that if robots are there, what should be the priority for the robot? The social accountability, or the owner command, or the owner's privacy? Initial results are confusing. People are not able to tell that what should be the right behavior or the responsibility of these kind of robots. So that is also very interesting domain where we should consider some collaborative work and see that how real robot behavior should be crafted at AI level, so that they are somewhat having some social, ethical, and legal like because the problem is that we don't have a kind of Bible or a textbook for all these things. So where is the boundary? So this is very open question, like the car, self-driving car. People, I have to ask that how this type of robots should be behaving as well. So the science fiction is this one, and reality is this one, the same person with different robots. And this is the perception we have to change and ground very much. And so let me really move to the last slide, some of the last slide, which is very important. So we have to create really the bigger ecosystem. Industry perhaps is creating the technology, but that is not enough. The involvement of end user, policymaker, academics, general public, media, funding agency, and insurance sectors all should be coming together to create a better ecosystem of a smarter ecosystem of deployment of robotics and AI technology. And there are different aspects of achieving useful robots. So the human-centered approach is very important, and interdisciplinary collaboration is the bottleneck. And then there is need of industry, academics, and end user collaboration, very strong need of this collaboration. And at the same time, serious technology transfer and information transfer in these directions are very much needed from all sides. Like technology transfer from academics to industry is one thing, but also from industry to academics, how we can achieve those type of collaborative scenario. So once we are trying to do those type of multidisciplinary collaboration, there is also a risk, and it should be done in a right manner. And that what is the right manner, that we have to define. And like we want to make a mixed water tap, this which can bring hot and cold water in a right manner and provide that water to the user. We want something like this, or what you can see, but perhaps we can end up in achieving something like this, where still the task is being achieved. You can regulate the hot and cold water and then have a channel where you are getting something mixed. But this is not we should aim to achieve, because there will be too many things which are unknown, and it will be very difficult to deploy and have the real societal impact which we want through the innovation and the technology. So this is, we have to really be careful. So I will now go to, so we are already creating a community around this type of technology. We have organized a international conference in India last year, which was first of its kind to be organized in India, where we try to bring different stakeholder and community all together, which is called the Roman Conference. And we are already engaged in community building with different stakeholders. So there is huge potential of these robots in education, healthcare, retail, transportation, tourism. And for the COVID scenario, there are urgent needs, that how technology can help maintain social life in the era of social distancing. And if something like this happens again in the future, then how we can prepare ourselves now to avoid another force new normal, and to avoid the global level panic, suffering, and deaths. And these technologies are seen now far more than ever by the community and by the media and by the policymaker to be the part of the solution. So the future will be really interesting if we are moving in the right direction, that this technology will be combining the powers of human, the society, machines, AI, art, and creativity all together to coexist with us in complete harmony, contrary to what you might have seen in the science fiction movies, for better life experience. And we will have more time and space for creativity. And a big part of exploitation, human exploitation, also the self exploitation, will and should be the past. And with this, welcome to the future, a collaborative development of future. So thanks a lot, and sorry for taking much time. I wanted to really give a comprehensive and global bigger picture. So I will stop here now. Okay.
Excellent. Thanks, Amit. It was a great talk. I really like the example of the water tap, cold and hot. Great example. So we will take one or two questions in the interest of time. This question is actually related to the discussion. How far are we technologically from deploying software like robot in healthcare?
Yes. So in terms of technology, I think it is, if you will see the global technological advancement, we have made nice progress to make these robots even deployed in a kind of semi-autonomous manner, or even in a controlled autonomy manner, so that these robots can be useful to reduce the loneliness of the people, and at the same time breathe the doctors and patient in a more embodied manner. And so technology is ready, but technology is not enough to deploy, because we need the policies of deployment, and we have to figure out that how the whole ecosystem is accepting it or not, and if they see it as something adding advantage, or if it is going to be costly. So there is also a role of insurance sector, depending on which part of the world we are talking, and that if insurance sector, and because medical and healthcare is sadly becoming, apart from for the technologies which are already expensive, this type of care systems are also becoming expensive. So we have to find a solution, that how we can provide solution through technology in a less expensive manner. And it is a big question for the ecosystem. That's what I was mentioning in the past.
I see. Okay, so the last question. This is actually a very interesting question, also a very valid question by Ishank Juneja from IIT Bombay. So there are robots for navigation manipulation, right? And then there are also robots for social interaction. So the question is, how mature is this social robotics? So can social robotics happen before robotic technology capable of other areas like navigation and manipulation? So that's his question.
Yeah, it's an interesting question, because it's a thing like a dependency. It's a mutual dependency. So social robotics is not only navigation and manipulation, but social robotics needs these building blocks. So
Mm.
social robots, there have been social robots like this Paro robot, which was not able to navigate and manipulate, but it was being used in elderly care facility to boost the cognitive health of the people. So it again depends on the definition of how we define social robots. But obviously, if we see a robot which is not able to move and manipulate, and if we say this as a robot, then yes, social robotics can happen before other robotics technology
Right.
are mature. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So with that, let's thank the speakers. So please click the plus button at the bottom. Great. So
Okay.
yeah, so this is a new way of applauding the speaker.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, it is interesting, and I hope there should be some other feedback mechanism to fill this. Yeah, and that's what we should be developing, I think, in the future. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Amit. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
So we have
Okay, bye.
speaker Bharadwaj, so who is coming in. I hope, Bharadwaj, I hope you're listening. So if you're listening, I will be closing the session and you will have to refresh the page. Otherwise, you will be in a parallel universe. Okay, so ending the session.